Hello, and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. Today is, wow, what's today? Is it Wednesday? I think today's Wednesday. I apparently don't know what time is. I have to constantly reference a calendar. If not, I am forever lost. Although I do think it's Wednesday. I'm 70% sure. So yes, today we will be starting another reading vlog. There are a couple of Netgalley books that I need to get to, so I thought what a better way than to share my reading experience of them since they will be published soon. The first one I believe will be published April 1st, and it is House of Cotton by Monica Brashears. Now the reason that I requested this book is because it's a horror book and it has a really interesting cover. It has this heart inside of this like tiny wooden house and the cover is green. It's very beautiful. I genuinely have no idea what this book is about, and that's okay. That's okay. I will give you an update once I read about 20% of it. The other book that I will be reading is When We Left Cuba by Cleeton. Hello, this is Editing Alicia, and I am not going to be reading When We Left Cuba. The book that I will be reading is The Cuban Heiress, which is another book by Cleeton that will be coming out in April. When We Left Cuba is one of her backlist titles. I just gave you the wrong book title and I wanted to clear it up. Great. This comes out April 11th and it is a historical fiction book, so completely different. We have one horror book, one historical fiction. I equally have no idea what When We Left Cuba is about, but I have read other books by Cleeton, so I am very familiar with her writing style. I really enjoy the way that she tells stories and her writing style, so I'm hoping that this is also going to be a hit. I'm really hoping that I can finish these two books within the next 2 or 3 days, just because my brothers are coming into town Friday night, so I probably won't be doing any reading over the weekend. So yeah, hopefully I can finish them before my brothers arrive. But right now I'm gonna make some coffee, per usual, and then start reading. Today is Friday. What's the date? Friday, March 24th, and I have something really exciting to show you. Yesterday, March 23rd, I finally received my first secret project from Sanderson. I didn't do an unboxing because I'm sure that if you follow Sanderson or if you ordered the books, you already saw a lot of people doing it. And I just have to say that it's all true. The rumors are true. It's a very beautiful book, really well constructed, definitely worth the price paid for. And I can't wait to read it. Honestly, I was going to drop all of my reading plans and start this, but I can't do that because I'm in the middle of way too many books right now, and I promised myself that this month I was going to get through the advanced reader copies that I requested on Netgalley. So that is what I'm doing. That is what I will be reading for this vlog, unless I just cave and pick this up. Although this weekend I probably will not be doing a lot of reading. My two brothers and their friend are coming up for the weekend, so we're probably going to hang out with them, take them out and see Portland, especially their friend, because I think he's never been to Portland. They have, but he hasn't. They're coming up from Southern California, which is going to be quite the adjustment for them because it's currently in the high 30s and it's snowing outside. It's not sticking, thankfully, but it is still snowing in April in Portland, Oregon. I don't know what's going on with the weather, and we don't even have it the worst. I know that the Bay Area in California and some other places have been getting tons of rain, like to the point where cars are getting covered by the rain. And then I believe in like Tahoe and Big Bear, like houses are getting covered with snow. So yes, anyways, we are probably going to take them to eat in a couple of different places, maybe see some touristy Portland things like go to Powell's, although, you know, we love Powell's already. So I guess this is a good time for a quick reading update. So I am in the middle of a couple of different books right now. The first one of those is A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin, which is the third book in A Song of Ice and Fire. I started it yesterday, 2 days ago. I'm only about 3 chapters in, so not enough to give you a proper update. I also started The Cuban Heiress by Chanel Cleeton. It's a historical fiction novel and it takes place on a cruise that is going from the US to Havana. It's getting really interesting because we're following two women. The first woman that comes on board has this fake identity and she's set on getting revenge for something that happened to her that we don't know about, and we don't know who she's trying to get revenge on. The second woman we're introduced to, who is also on this very same ship, has constructed a fake past. We learn from the events that are happening so far, which is not a lot. I'm only about 15% in, I would say. But we learn that she grew up very poor, and so she comes onto the ship and she's very much in awe of everything because this is a new experience for her. But she's trying really hard to fit in with all of the wealthy people on the ship. So trying to be like, whatever, casual Sunday for me. But she's not rich. She is engaged to someone who's also very wealthy, and a lot of the people there believe that she's also really wealthy, and she has to keep up this pretense. Now she ends up meeting this other guy on the cruise who is a jewel thief, and she sort of catches him in the act. And one night after dinner, someone tries to either steal her necklace that she was wearing or tries to kill her. It's not very clear, but they end up struggling for the gun and she accidentally shoots him. And now she's dealing with a dead body. And it just so happens that this jewel thief ends up walking in on her, trying to throw his body overboard. And she's like, well, you need to help me now because I know that you stole this bracelet from this other rich lady and I'm going to rat you out if you don't help me right now. So he does. He helps her throw the body overboard, but he's like, hey, I don't think this is a coincidence. I don't think that he was just trying to steal your necklace. Like, this guy is really well off. Look at the way he's dressed. Something else is going on and you need to be careful. And that's so far all that I've read, but I'm really, really liking it. So I'm going to continue reading that. Now, in terms of audiobooks, I'm listening to two separate ones, and they're both nonfiction books that I hope to finish before I have to return them to the library because they're both due very soon. The first one of those is The Invisible Kingdom: Reimagining Chronic Illness by Meghan O'Rourke. I'm about 30% through this one, and it's definitely been an illuminating read. It's part memoir and medical journal in that Meghan O'Rourke talks about her own journey with getting diagnosed with a chronic illness, an autoimmune disease. But throughout the chapter, she also talks about the history of medicine and the way in which our system is currently failing us with diagnosing, and she does it in a really nuanced way. Like, there's a particular chapter where she talks about how oftentimes when she sees doctors, she feels like they don't really have a good medical history on her and that they don't spend the time to really get to know it, to ask like, hey, does your family have a history of autoimmune diseases? Is this something that we should look into? And I feel like a lot of books that I read that are similar to this leave it at that. But she goes a step further and she talks about the stress and pressure that is put on primary care providers and how sometimes they lack the resources to really spend a lot of time with the patient. So she mentions, like, how can I make it as easy as possible for this doctor to know all of my symptoms without overwhelming them? That way they can help me help myself. So that was a really interesting and self-aware thing to note because it is true doctors are overburdened and so are nurses, but that doesn't also excuse them from not taking a patient seriously, right? And I think there are doctors out there who really do care, but there's also doctors out there who are burnt out, and we live in a patriarchal society, right? And sometimes women's pain isn't taken seriously. And a lot of the book really goes into that. Like, she begins to talk about multiple sclerosis and how when women were experiencing symptoms of multiple sclerosis before it became a diagnosable thing, like, doctors would just say, that's like a women's hysteria, like it's not really happening. And it wasn't until men started experiencing the symptoms of multiple sclerosis there was more of a that there was really more of a push to identify what this was. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying it, really enlightening. And then the second book that I'm reading is Ace by Angela Chen. And so this is actually a compilation of conversations that Angela Chen had with a variety of different people that identify as Ace. And she talks about their experience, based on the conversations that she had with them, while also talking about her own journey figuring out that she was ace. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the term ace, it means asexual. So far, I think it's been also a learning experience for me in learning what asexual means and what it doesn't mean, learning more about the history of people who identify as asexual. Really, really, really illuminating read for me. I'm, let's see, 25% through that one. So I hope to finish both of these books sometime soon. So those are the books that I'm currently reading and plan to continue reading. I will check in with you later. So what's for dinner, Chef Benedict?
Smash burgers.
Yum.
I don't know what to do about it sticking though.
Because they're top part.
Maybe if we like get it. Oh, there we go.
So it is Monday, March 27th. My brothers left this morning along with their two friends. They were here over the weekend and we did a couple of really fun things. So they are gone now, and I was able to listen to a little bit of House of Cotton. And unfortunately, I had to DNF at 33%. I don't often DNF books, even when there's a book that I don't want to say that I'm not enjoying a book, but when there's a book where I'm not really into it, but I can see elements of brilliance, or I'm still curious about how it's going to end, I push through it because oftentimes I feel like I can find a redeemable quality about a book, and I'm really open to hearing a different perspective from my own. So, because of that, I push myself to finish books even when I'm not immediately loving them, right? But in this scenario, I was actively dreading going back to this book, and I was really not enjoying my reading experience of it. So I had to take a step back and think why. And it's because it has a lot of explicit sexual content and sexual violence in particular. And that is a really big trigger for me. It puts me in a reading slump. It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel gloomy. It just puts me in a really bad headspace. And I just need to protect my mental health. So, because of that, I decided to DNF it. And it makes me feel sad because I did see moments of brilliance in this book. I think that Monica Brashears is a talented author. And if she writes a book in the future that is not plagued with sexual violence, I will definitely pick it up because it was interesting. Like, I picked it up for a reason. Like, I really wanted to read it. And yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So I DNF'd it. Um, yeah, I mean, that's my update. That was the one book that I was trying to finish over the weekend and it didn't work out. So I'm going to go back to my nonfiction books and continue reading The Cuban Heiress. So actually, I found another book in Netgalley that I'm a little bit excited to read. It's under their Listen Now category, and it's um, Paradise One by David Wellington. I read a different sci-fi thriller by this author. I already forgot the name of it. I think I read it earlier this year, and for some reason, the name of it is escaping me. What is it called? I'm just going through my Goodreads right now. Yes, David Wellington. It was called The Last Astronaut. I really enjoyed it. I liked the atmosphere. There was one particular character that was super annoying, but even having this really annoying character that I didn't want to be around, even though we had that, I still quite enjoyed the book. So I feel like that gives me a tip that I might enjoy his works. And, I could do a sci-fi thriller at this point in time because, again, I'm feeling a little sad and slumpy from the last book that I DNF'd. So yeah, I'm going to get it, download it, and then start that, and hopefully it's a hit. So in terms of what it's about, it looks like there's a space colony that was created and it went dark and no one knows what happens to the people from that colony. So it looks like two people are going to go investigate, and that's literally all that we know. And I'm totally okay with that because I'm ready to be surprised, I'm ready to be thrilled, I'm ready to be scared. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I refused for years to get an iWatch because I don't like wearing things on my wrist. Like I just hate the feeling of having something on my wrist, whether it's a bracelet, a watch, anything. But I do work from home and I realize that I'm living a very sedentary lifestyle, so I want to take my steps more seriously and try to walk at least 5,000 steps every single day. I know that seems very low for some people. I know some people that walk like 12,000 steps every single day, but I'm just not there. Like, based on what my phone is telling me, I walk like 200 steps a day currently. But I know that could be inaccurate because I don't carry my phone everywhere with me. So I'm hoping that the watch will establish a baseline for me, and then from there, I can go ahead and modify it. But okay, I don't have the patience to like neatly open things. Anyone ever gets me a present, I'm like, don't even try to like make it a nice like wrapping. Don't even try to wrap it nicely because I'm just gonna tear it apart. Like I tear things. I just don't have the patience for like nicely unwrapping stuff. Like that's just not who I am. La 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 la. Okay, that I haven't set it up or anything, so this is just what it looks like. I'm going to turn it on and follow through with all the steps and stuff. What are you reading?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Dead Astronauts
Bye.
by Jeff Vandermeer.
What is it about? Did you just start it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. So you're
Um,
not sure yet, I guess.
I am not sure. It's about like a group of people that are traveling in like a kind of post-apocalyptic land. Hey, and it like follows up on some of the stuff that happens in Bourne, but you don't know I don't know if it's like a prequel or like post thing yet.
Got
But
it.
my theory is it's before.
Okay. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, pretty well. I'm a little confused by it so far, but it's enjoyable.
Okay. Well, hello there. So I have some updates. I did finish two books that I want to briefly wrap up my thoughts on and tell you a little bit about. The first one of those was my nonfiction book that I was reading. It is called The Invisible Kingdom: Reimagining Chronic Illness, and it is by Meghan O'Rourke. This was a book that I quite enjoyed, although enjoy it doesn't quite seem to be the right word here. I was just really engrossed by the subject and the way that Meghan O'Rourke presented this information. In a way, it was a little scattered and a little bit repetitive, and she does say at the beginning of the book that she writes this in a way that is non-linear. It sort of reflects her own journey discovering that she had a chronic illness and how there's never really any apparent answers or how there's no one linear way to find information. She had to bounce between doctors over the course of several years in order to even find out what could potentially be wrong with her. And in a way, her narrative reflects that. As she shares with us her story and also the interviews that she had with various medical professionals and public health professionals, it was a really good read. I think it was a read that was necessary for me, especially for me as I am someone who works within the healthcare industry. I think it's important for me to listen to different types of narratives and to get her perspective as a patient. She is a patient with chronic illness. So I found it to be really well written. I really liked the way that she laid out her narrative, even though it did feel sometimes a little bit repetitive as she tried to make a point or hone in on one specific thing. So some of the overall themes that she talked about in this book is one, the general trend of having higher percentages of people having autoimmune diseases in developed countries like the United States and the UK. She also talks a little bit more about the intersection of identity and health. So if you're a woman, you're not taken as seriously. If you're a woman and a person of color, or if you're a woman and you're black, then the healthcare system is stacked against you to even get that diagnosis or for a medical professional to take you seriously, which we know is the case. One thing that I wish you would have dived more into would have been the intersection of health and maybe like disability. The only reason that comes to mind is because I'm also currently listening to ACE. And there's one particular chapter in ACE where they talk about the intersection of asexuality with the disabled people. So I thought that was one thing that was missing from The Invisible Kingdom. But overall, it was a great read, and it's definitely made me reevaluate what I value in my life and where I put time into. So it's definitely going to be a book that sticks with me for a while. Now, I did also end up finishing The Cuban Heiress by Chanel Cleeton, and I really, really, really like this book. I was a little nervous going in because I just remember loving The Most Beautiful Girl in Cuba so much. And I just felt like maybe I hyped it up in my head, or maybe I'm not in a historical fiction mood. But no, it was so, 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 so good. I would say I'm between a 4 and a 4.5 for The Cuban Heiress. And so in this one, we are following two separate heroines. So our first heroine is named Elena, and she is on board of this ship called the Morro Castle that is sailing from New York to Cuba back to New York. And the ship in itself is sort of a character on its own in that it has a lot of history. And actually, there are some acknowledgments at the end of the book where Chanel Cleeton talks about her inspiration for this particular story. There was a ship called the Morro Castle that did sail from New York to Cuba back in 1934. That is all that I'm going to say because the rest of the ship's history could be considered a spoiler. So if you don't want to be spoiled for this book, then don't look up the history of the ship. But yes, so Elena boards this ship intent on getting revenge. To the rest of the world, she died in a house fire a year prior, but she is here to set things straight. Now, our other heroine is named Catherine, and Catherine is impersonating a wealthy heiress, and she is engaged to this really wealthy man on the ship. Now, we don't really know much about Catherine from the onset. We know that she has a lot of secrets, and we also do not know what her intentions are. But she meets a thief on board, and through that friendship that develops, we get more insights into Catherine, her history, and why she's on the ship. I will say that I had an inkling of where I thought the story was going, and Chanel Cleeton just like wowed me at every single turn. Even when I got certain things right, I was still in awe, in shock. It was such an engrossing and fun story. I would definitely recommend to pick this book up in the summer. I feel like it would just be such a great poolside read. Like it's entertaining and funny. There's some great banter between some characters. But then towards the end, it starts to get a little bit heavy. There's a lot more drama. The revenge plot is coming into fruition. It was just really, really, really good. And I would definitely recommend to pick it up if you like historical fiction. So, in terms of the books that I haven't finished, I'm still reading two other audiobooks. The first one of those is Ace by Angela Chen. I have 2 more days to finish it, and I'm 67% through. So, I probably will finish it right at the end of March. And then the second one is another Netgalley pick, which is Paradise 1 by David Wellington. I'm 81% through that one. But I do feel like this is where I'm going to end this vlog because it has been like a full week of me updating you on books, even though I didn't read for like 3 days of the vlog. But yes, I will let you know my thoughts on the other two during my March wrap up or on the next vlog. I don't know if I want to do weekly vlogs where I update you on everything that I'm reading that particular week, or if I want them to be themed. We'll see. I have to figure it out. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.